Welcome to Storytime with Cozy Malka, where we gather to share tales about responsibility, courage, and honesty. As we come together, let's put on our listening ears as we're transported into amazing stories. For this episode, we'll be learning about bravery versus injustice as we continue our tale about that clever rogue, Robin Hood, and his merry men. So without further ado, let's find a cozy spot, grab a friend, and let's enjoy a great story. Chapter 6: How Guy's Band Went Home. Now Guy got all his band together again and cursed them soundly. Though he might as well have cursed himself, he was shivering wet inside his armor and very angry at the way in which Robin had fooled him. When he counted up his band, he found he was 3 men short. This, he told the rest, comes of being afraid of a pack of fools who would run at the sight of our swords. I would have you know, louts, that all that has scared you has been this Robin Hood and his tricks. But now we will take no more note of his knavish follies. Spread out among the banks of the stream and find a ford, for we cross it and hunt him down ere we go back from Sherwood. They searched up and down the stream and saw no man on either bank, for Robin had said that he would give them till nightfall to withdraw, and he kept his word even with his enemies. A party of Guy's men found a place shallow enough for them to cross the stream, and they waded through, all tired now and hungry as well. But Robin and his merry men sat in a glade a mile away and ate and drank in comfort, all but the couple who watched a report on Guy of Gisborne's movements. All that afternoon Guy's men searched the greenwood in vain, for Robin's men fell back before them into the forest depths. They were miles from their starting point when the night came, and Guy, halting them in an open glade, bade them eat of the provisions they had brought, after which he set a guard of 15 men for the night. For we go not out from this forest till we have made an end of Robin Hood and his band, he told his men. Already they have come to an end of their devices and flee before us in fear. Ha ha ha! Came a mocking laugh from a nearby thicket. They loosed a dozen crossbows into the thicket and searched it thoroughly afterward, but could find no sign of any man. Nothing but a blue jay squawking, Guy said scornfully. You are as scared as a nest of mice, though the only man among you that took any harm is he who drowned himself. Now build a great fire in this glade and set the guard, for it glows dark. This was done, and while the 15 men patrolled the edges of the glade, the others tried to rest, uneasy enough. Just when it was fully dark and they were beginning to doze off, came a series of unearthly moans out of the forest, and they started up in affright. The pixies are abroad, one whispered to another. Now we are all lost men. They say the dragon of Darkmere haunts nearby this place, said another, and gobbles men as a swallow gulps down flies. Hark! For a weird scream followed on the moaning, and they all sat up and grasped at their arms. Elfin laughter, echoing from all points at once, came after the screaming. I will give 2 tall candles to St. Hubert's shrine if I ever get safe out of this, said one great fellow, crossing himself devoutly. Silence, loon, Guy commanded, though his own voice shook with fright at the forest hauntings. It is but these outlaws at their tricks again. And though he only half believed what he said, he lay down to try to get some sleep, being now somewhat dried after his ducking, though he was shivery in the night air in his cold armor, and dared not remove a piece more than his helmet. But there came no more noises, and presently they all rested until it was time for 15 more of them to be roused to relieve the first watch. It was just on midnight when one of these men of the second watch came to Guy of Gisborne and saw that he was awake. Master, said the man, see there through the forest. Guy sat up and looked, seeing through the foliage of a flickering glow of a distant fire. He scratched his head and got to his feet. Now we have them, he said, for that will be the fire round which Robin and his men sleep this night, thinking us afraid to move. Rouse all the band, bid them make no sound, and we will away for this great thief and make an end of him. But on second thought he left behind the more heavily armed and clumsy men of his band, lest they should make a clatter in the woods, rouse the outlaws' camp too soon. 36 men in all went creeping through the forest in the end, bent on surprising Robin and his men asleep. They stole on among the trees, feeling their way in the darkness, and saw at last how a great fire burned in the midst of a wide glade, with on the far side of the fire the figures of a score or more men showing indistinctly in the flickering light as they lay asleep, and one who paced back and forth like a sentry. It was Much, the miller's son, whom Robin had set to this task. The light was too certain to try a shot at him, and Guy mustered his men at the edge of the glade, reckoning that if he caught all the band asleep but one, it would be an easy matter to overcome them before they could get to their arms. The fire was a score of yards away, and the sleeping figures perhaps some 10 yards more, when Guy had all his men together, and had bidden them each mark his man. He leapt out of the open, waving a sword as signal for them to charge down on the outlaws' camp, but he cried no word to give warning to the sleepers. After him came his men, charging out, eager to end this business in the forest depths and get back to the open lands they knew. But halfway to the fire, first one and then another went thundering to the ground, for Robin had his men stretch ropes a little less than knee high across the glade, and in the darkness the ropes were invisible as they hung tied from one great tree to another. Guy's men fell on each other and cursed and swore and even fought each other, thinking Robinson's men were on them, while the sleeping forms beyond the fire never stirred, since they were but stuffed dummies that Robin had laid there to bait the trap. But while Guy's men were all tangled up with the slack ropes, and a good 2/3 of them were rolling on the turf helplessly, from either side leapt Robin and his men, armed with great cudgels. Robin himself knocked Guy of Gisborne insensible with a mighty blow, and so well did they all use their cudgels that by the time Guy came to again, he and his men were all trussed as tightly as cooking fowls. "Now, Scarlet," said Robin, "do you much mind these cockerels, and stun any of them who make a noise? The rest of you to their camp with me." Vanishing the forest, they rushed Guy's guards with their cudgels, and being 3 to 1 now, made them all prisoners without the loss of a man, though Little John got a black eye from one fellow whom he tackled. Then they took these 11 others back to where Guy and the main body lay bound. "Pile all their arms by the dummies there," Robin ordered, "and strip off their armor and pile it there too, with special care for Guy of Gisborne's iron suit, which might fit me at need." So this was done, while Guy of Gisborne cursed most foully, till Robin threatened to hang him unless he held his tongue. "Now," said Robin, "'tis a warm light night, and good clothes are scarce in Sherwood. Strip every man of them of all but a shirt, and do you, Little John, Scarlet, and Much, join me with your bows to shoot down anyone who resists." But Guy's men, unarmed and defenseless, had no heart for resistance, and presently 47 sorry figures stood, each with nothing on but a shirt, his hands tied behind him. Robin, taking a sword, strode up to Guy of Gisborne. "Steward," he said fiercely, "had you been in our place, had you hanged us every one, as I know well, I have taken you and your 50 men to show you your proud abbot, who is lord of Sherwood, and I tell you that if he sends you against me again, I will come out and burn your grange about your ears. I have taken no life of your men's lives, and save that you will have sore feet before you win home, I have harmed no man of you. Get you with these men back to those who sent you, and tell them the welcome Robin Hood made for you and your men in Sherwood." So it happens that 47 men, each with nothing on but a shirt, went out weary and hungered, and with bleeding feet from Sherwood Forest about the hour of dawn, and each man had his hands tied behind his back. Some went with Guy of Gisborne to his grange, and some went straight to St. Mary's Abbey for food and clothing, and some there were who went to Isambard de Bellamy at Evilhold to tell him what sort of man was this Robin Hood who ruled in Sherwood. They say that Abbot Hugo raved in wrath, and Isambard de Bellamy cursed his men till he was black in the face, while Guy of Gisborne hid in his grange till his sore feet had healed, and told no man what he thought of that night's work. But from Newark in the south to Sheffield, and even to far away York itself, men roared with laughter at the tale of 47 men trampling out from Sherwood in their shirts, beaten and bound by stout Robin Hood and his band. After this, Robin had more offers of service in his band than he wanted, so that he was able to pick and choose only the very best of men to join his merry throng. It was in these days that his band grew to its strength of 70 great fighters, each of them a match for 2 ordinary men, and from then onward Robin was called the King of Sherwood. But both Abbot Hugo and Isambard de Bellamy swore vengeance and waited their time. Robin, when he heard it, smiled. "They are great swearers," he said. Thank you for joining us for Storytime with Cozy Malka. We'd love for you to share with our friends what you learned from tonight's tale. Join us next time for the continued adventures of Robin Hood.